Renewable energy resource adequacy planning to meet renewable purchase obligations RPO in India. Introduction. The transformation of the global energy system represents one of the most significant structural shifts in modern economic history. Nations across the world are transitioning from fossil fuel dominated energy systems towards diversified portfolios that incorporate renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydro, and bioenergy. India, as one of the fastest growing economies and one of the largest energy consumers in the world, faces a dual constraint: sustaining rapid economic growth while simultaneously reducing carbon intensity and meeting international climate commitments. Renewable Purchase Obligations, or the RPOs, have emerged as one of the central policy instruments designed to reconcile these competing objectives. Renewable Purchase Obligations constitute a regulatory requirement that obligates electricity distribution companies, DISCOMs, open access consumers, and captive power producers to produce a certain percentage of their electricity from renewable energy sources. These obligations serve as a demand side policy that stimulates investment in renewable energy infrastructure, reduces reliance on fossil fuels, and supports national climate targets. The policy paper titled Renewable Energy Resource Adequacy Planning to Meet RPO by the states in India highlights the structural challenges and opportunities and policy implications associated with achieving India's renewable energy transition goals. India's updated nationally determined contributions (NDCs) under international climate agreements emphasize achieving 50% cumulative installed power capacity from non-fossil fuel sources by 2030. The RPO framework functions as a mechanism through which these macro-level climate commitments are operationalized at the state level. The trajectory established by the Ministry of Power requires states to progressively increase their share of electricity procured from renewable sources from approximately 24.3% in 2023 to 43.3% by 2030. The RPO system therefore represents not merely an environmental policy but an economic restructuring mechanism that influences capital allocation, technological adoption, regional industrial development, grid modernization, and long-term strategic energy security. Conceptual foundation of renewable purchase obligations. Renewable purchase obligations are designed to correct market failures associated with environmental externalities. Fossil fuel-based electricity generation imposes social costs through greenhouse gas emissions, air pollution, and ecological degradation that are not fully reflected in market prices. In such a situation, relying solely on price mechanism would result in underinvestment in renewable energy technologies. The RPO framework functions as a regulatory quota system that ensures minimum market demand for renewable energy generation. This policy instrument operates through a compliance mechanism wherein obligated entities must either generate renewable power themselves, procure renewable power through power purchase agreements, or purchase renewable energy certificate (RECs) from the market. Historically, RPO's targets were categorized into solar and non-solar components. However, as technological maturity improved and solar capacity expanded rapidly, policymakers introduced a revised structure that integrates multiple renewable energy sources including wind, hydro, and biomass. The policy restructuring affects the conditions that different renewable technologies possesses, different capacity utilization factors (CUFs), intermittency characteristics, and grid integration requirements. The evolution of RPO design demonstrates an increasing emphasis on technological diversification and grid stability. Solar energy provides high scalability that suffers from intermittency during nighttime hours. Wind energy exhibits variability depending on seasonal patterns. Hydro energy provides relative stable baseload capacity but is geographically constrained. Biomass contributes dispatched renewable energy generation but faces feedstock supply limitations. A balanced energy mix therefore becomes necessary to ensure reliability and reliance of the electricity system. India's energy transition and climate commitments. India's energy demand is projected to increase significantly over the next decades due to population growth, industrialization, urbanization, and rising living standards. As of 2022, India represents approximately 18% of the global population and one of the fastest growing major economies. Simultaneously, India faces pressure to reduce carbon intensity and aligned with global decarbonization pathways. The long-term low carbon development strategy outlines a path towards sustainable economic growth that balances developmental priorities with environmental responsibilities. The expansion of renewable energy infrastructure is therefore not merely a climate initiative but a strategic economic policy investment in renewable energy contributes to energy independence by reducing reliance on imported fossil fuels especially. It enhances macroeconomic stability by mitigating exposure to volatility in global energy markets. It generates domestic employment in manufacturing, installation, and maintenance of renewable energy systems. It promotes technological innovation and domestic industrial capacity in emerging sectors such as battery, storage, etc. Investment in renewable energy contributes to energy independence by reducing reliance on imported fossil fuels. It enhances macroeconomic stability by mitigating exposure to volatility in global energy markets. It generates domestic employment in manufacturing, installation, and maintenance of renewable energy systems. It also promotes technological innovation and domestic industrial capabilities in emerging sectors such as battery storage, green hydrogen, and smart grid infrastructure. According to the policy paper, achieving RPO targets require a total renewable energy installed capacity of approximately 517.34 gigawatts by 2029 and 2030, compared to 177.74 gigawatts installed capacity as of July 2023. This implies the need to approximately to add approximately 339.6 gigawatt of additional renewable energy capacity with a relatively short time horizon. This magnitude of capacity expansion requires coordinated planning across financial markets, manufacturing supply chains, grid infrastructure development, and regulatory institutions. Structural challenges in achieving RPO targets. The effectiveness of renewable energy purchase obligation depends on multiple interrelated structural factors, including institutional capacity, grid infrastructure, financial viability of discoms, technological availability, and regional resource endowments. One of the central challenges lies in the uneven distribution of renewable energy potential across Indian states. Solar irradiation levels may vary significantly across geographic regions, with states such as Rajasthan and Gujarat possessing higher solar potential relative to states in eastern and northeastern regions. Similarly, wind energy potential is concentrated in coastal and elevated regions such as Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and Karnataka. The policy paper indicates the solar CUF varies significantly across states, ranging from approximately 1.3% to 27%, while wind CUF varies between 13.4 and 32%. Such variation implies that certain states will face structural deficit in renewable energy capacity and must procure renewable power from resource-rich states. This creates the need for interstate electricity trade and transmission infrastructure expansion. Another major constraint arises from financial condition of discoms. Many electricity distribution companies operate under significant financial stress due to pricing inefficiencies, cross-subsidization structures, and technical losses. These financial constraints reduce their capacity to invest in long-term renewable power purchase agreements. Compliance with RPO targets also varies widely across states. According to the Standing Committee on Energy, compliance levels range from as low as 3.7% in some states to as high as 250% in others. Only a small number of states achieve full compliance with notified RPO trajectories. Such displays indicate the existence of institutional heterogeneity in regulatory enforcement capacity and political prioritization of renewable energy policy. Resource adequacy planning and capital mobilization. Resource adequacy planning refers to the process of ensuring that sufficient energy capacity exists to meet electricity demand reliably under varying conditions. Renewable energy introduces additional complexity into resource adequacy planning due to intermittency and variability. The policy study provides a statewide assessment of renewable energy technical potential, projected capacity requirements, and procurement needs across these ages. The analysis considers parameters such as historical generation patterns, expected technological improvements, grid balancing requirements, and interstate electricity trade potential. The finding indicates that certain regions possess significant and sufficient internal renewable energy potential to meet RPO targets, while others require procurement from neighboring states. For example, southern states such as Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala, and Tamil Nadu possess significant renewable potential to meet both total and individual RPO targets through internal capacity mobilization. In contrast, such states such as Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Jharkhand, as well as West Bengal, are projected to fall short of renewable capacity targets even after mobilizing full internal potential, necessitating interstate procurement of solar, wind, and hydropower. Such regional asymmetry necessitates coordinated infrastructure development, including high voltage transmission corridors, energy storage systems, and power market integration mechanisms. Role of energy storage in RPO compliance. Energy storage technologies play a critical role in facilitating the integration of renewable energy into electricity grids. Solar and wind power generation exhibit temporary variability that may not align with demand patterns. Battery storage systems, pumped hydro storage, and other emerging technologies enable the smoothing of supply fluctuations and enhance grid stability. Storage capacity also enables greater penetration of renewable energy without compromising reliability. The policy paper emphasizes the importance of estimating storage requirements alongside generation capacity expansion. Storage systems serve as balancing mechanisms that allow excess renewable energy generated during peak production periods to be utilized during low production periods. The incorporation of energy storage obligations alongside renewable purchases obligations represent an evolution in policy design that acknowledges the technological interdependence between generation capacity and grid flexibility. Economic implications of RPO policy. Renewable purchase obligations influence investment flows, capital accumulation, and industrial developmental trajectories. The guaranteed demand for renewable energy creates RPO targets, reduces investment risk for project developers, and encourages private sector participation. Investment in renewable energy infrastructure generates multiple effects across the economy, including employment generation in manufacturing, engineering, and construction, as well as in logistics and maintenance sectors. Localized renewable energy projects also stimulate regional economic development by increasing income opportunities in rural and semi-urban areas. The mobilization of renewable capacity within states contribute to a local economic benefits including job creation, infrastructure development, technological skill formation. At the macroeconomic level, increased domestic renewable energy capacity reduces dependency on imported fossil fuels, thereby improving balance of payment stability and reducing vulnerability to global commodity price shocks. Institutional and regulatory framework. The success of renewable purchase obligation depends on the strength of regulatory enforcement mechanisms. Weak enforcement reduces compliance incentives and undermines policy effectiveness. The draft Electricity Amendment Bill of 2022 proposes penalty mechanisms for non-compliance with RPO targets and indicating an effort to strengthen accountability mechanisms within the electricity sector. Effective implementation requires coordination between multiple institutions, including the Ministry of Power, Central Electricity Authority, states, regulatory commissions, DISCOMs, renewable energy developers, and financial institutions. Regulatory certainty plays a critical role in attracting long-term capital investment in renewable energy infrastructure, as well as policy inconsistency or regulatory ambiguity increases investment risk and raises financial costs. Strategic importance of interstate electricity trade. Interstate electricity trade serves as a mechanism for optimizing resource allocation across regions with heterogeneous renewable energy potential. States with abundant renewable energies can export electricity to deficit states through transmission networks and thereby enhancing overall system efficiency. Such trade reduces the need for each state to achieve self-sufficiency in renewable energy, thereby minimizing total system costs. Transmission infrastructure development therefore becomes a critical component of RPO compliance strategy. Investments in high-capacity transmission corridors enable efficient integration of geographically concentrated renewable energy resource into national electricity markets. Regional cooperation also enhances resilience of the electricity system by diversifying supply sources and reducing exposure to localized weather variability. Long-term policy implications. Renewable purchase obligations represent a transitional policy instrument that facilitates the gradual restructuring of energy markets towards low carbon systems. Over time, technological improvement and economies of scale are expected to reduce the cost of renewable energy generation, potentially reducing the need for regulatory mandates. However, during the transition period, RPOs play a critical role in overcoming coordination failures, ensuring uncertainty, and aligning incentive across market participants. The integration of renewable energy into national electricity systems also requires complementary investments in grid modernization, digital infrastructure, demand response system, and energy storage technologies. The success of IPO implementation also influences India's ability to achieve long-term decarbonization targets while sustaining economic growth and maintaining energy security. Conclusion: renewable energy obligations constitute a structural pillar of India's energy transition strategy. The policy framework aligns environmental objectives with economic incentives, facilitating the expansion of renewable energy capacity across states. Achieving RPO targets require coordinated planning across multiple domains, including infrastructure development, financial market mobilization, technological innovation, and regulatory enforcement. The policy paper demonstrates that achieving approximately 517 gigawatts of renewable capacity by 2030 requires significant expansion of solar, wind, hydro, and bioenergy infrastructure, supported by energy storage systems and interstate electricity trade mechanisms. The transition towards renewable energy represents not merely an environmental necessity but a structural transformation of economic systems. Renewable purchase obligations function as a strategic instrument that accelerates this transformation by aligning incentives, reducing uncertainty, and mobilizing capital towards sustainable energy infrastructure. The long-term success of the RPO framework will depend on institutional capacity, technological progress, financial stability of electricity distribution companies, and political commitment to climate policy objectives.